These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan.
It's been a good season.
They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried.
The WNBA is somehow mishandling its greatest moment, despite being on the verge of a historic boom. Caitlin Clark is at the center of the mayhem, and it's a self-inflicted wound. Never one to hold back. Charles Barkley has given the league a harsh reality check by publicly denouncing the petty jealousy that might cause everything to fall apart. You're undoubtedly asking why a league that is growing so quickly is now embroiled in a fierce internal conflict, and why its own players seem to be targeting the star who is inspiring them all. We're delving deeply into the startling reality that underlies both Barkley's uncompromising position and this dramatic confrontation.
If you got people in a room, if you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done.
The season opening game for the Indiana Fever was supposed to be a high point. The league's most talked about rookie Caitlin Clark was ready to create history, and the arena was full. However, the evening soon turned into a bitter sideshow. Whispers turned into startling charges, allegations of fan misbehavior, and even racial epithets directed against Chicago Sky singer Angel Reese. Charles Barkley, who is known for his unvarnished opinions, didn't think twice.
So it's just petty jealousy, and it's really unfortunate because, and the thing that's really bad right now, we're not even talking about basketball. That's the problem that I have with the whole thing.
He immediately questioned the assertions, calling them a cunning diversion from Clark's skill on the court and the enormous development potential she offered the league, described it as needless commotion that took away from what ought to have been a celebration. But Barkley's doubts were only the preface to an even more startling discovery that would soon come to light.
But what's bad, instead of talking about all the good things happening for the WNBA, we're talking about negativity. And all publicity, there used to be that old saying, all publicity is good publicity. No, it's not. Not when you're a niche sport trying to get the consumers to buy into your product.
The WNBA promptly opened an investigation into the claims in response to heightened public criticism. The league's quick reaction to the allegations fueled a negative narrative that dominated headlines for days, accusing Indiana supporters of acting racistly toward Angel Reese. Supporters of Fever felt unfairly singled out, and without any hard proof, their character as fans was dragged through the gutter. Then, like a bombshell, came the shocking verdict. After conducting fan and arena staff interviews and carefully examining the game, the allegations of wrongdoing or racial statements were not supported by any proof, according to the league.
Petty jealousy, and it's really unfortunate because what she's done for the game, listen, I believe in rookie hazing, but some of the criticism has gotten overboard.
The charges had no merit at all. This is the most contentious element, though. The WNBA published their findings and declared that the allegations were unfounded, but they did not extend any kind of apology to the fans who had been unfairly and publicly disparaged. This was more than just a mistake. It was a serious self-inflicted injury that immediately threatened the WNBA's promising future.
The girls got to grow up and you know what? I can go at her hard on the basketball court, but the visibility and stuff she's bringing to the league is going to fill all our wallets up in the long run.
Fans were deeply offended by the WNBA's refusal to issue an apology. Consider this, even though Fever supporters were exonerated, they had been wrongly labeled as monsters for almost a week. Many felt alienated and questioned the WNBA's goals at a crucial point due to the league's refusal to acknowledge or correct this public harm. Barkley, whose first critique turned out to be prophetic, released fresh criticism.
But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous. And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. But there's been so much negativity, and a lot of it is just petty jealousness.
He accused the league of failing to manage the narrative and, most importantly, failing to safeguard its most devoted supporters, blaming them for allowing unfounded allegations to dominate headlines, contended that the WNBA deliberately chose controversy above honoring its rising star and the fervor of its fan base in its desperate attempt to address unfounded accusations. Caitlin Clark's indisputable, profound influence on the sport has now been totally eclipsed by this tragic story.
But like I say, it's just a lot of petty jealousy out there, and it's really unfortunate. Taken away from the women's game. Because no matter what sport, if you're talking more about something other than the sport, so anything, this is just taken away from the game, in my opinion.
The numbers yell rather than just speak. For the WNBA, Caitlin Clark is the needle. She's not simply moving it. The league has had an unparalleled cultural and economic tidal wave since her arrival. The number of people watching the draft increased by an astounding 400%. The WNBA had an incredible 93% increase in ticket sales. Viewership during the regular season skyrocketed by 180%. Barkley made a potent analogy with his characteristic candor that is comparable to NBA star Steph Curry. Passionately described how Clark is changing the whole scene on his own, attracting attention, and crucially making money that helps every player and every team.
Just as suspected, nothing. And that other fan base, the old fan base, came after the Fever players, Fever fan.
In just 5 weeks, Clark's effect accomplished what would have required 5 years of incremental organic growth for the WNBA, demonstrating her enormous influence. Every professional sports league aspires to have a star like this, a game-changer who transforms the economic landscape. However, a deep-seated, uncomfortable jealousy started to simmer beneath the surface despite this evident, transformative achievement.
So it's really unfortunate, and it's just, and I like the way she's handling. She hasn't said anything because you got so many fools out here who got opinion, unfortunately, negative opinions on television, on radio, and things like that. So I'm glad she's staying above the fray.
Ever the provocateur, Barkley didn't hold back when analyzing the cause of the internal strife within the league, categorically and repeatedly called a large portion of the criticism directed at Clark petty jealousy. He acknowledged the understandable resentment of seasoned WNBA players who have dedicated their whole lives to making the league famous, only to see a rookie attract extraordinary attention, endorsement deals, and a level of celebrity they have never known. Barkley's response, though, was succinct and straightforward. Clark is an unmatched opportunity rather than a threat. Fervently maintained that Clark's presence is filling everyone's coffers in the WNBA, just as Steph Curry's influence made money for everyone in the NBA.
And you old fans, you ones accusing us of racism and all that, y'all just took an L, and a big one. However, the league is also taking a big L because there's no apologies to any fans whatsoever on this totally BS statement released by the WNBA.
Her impact raises pay, draws significant sponsorships, secures better facilities, and places the WNBA solidly on the international scene, elevating the league as a whole. He claimed that the players must mature and see Clark for what she really is, a transformational force that has the power to uplift everyone. Unfortunately, rather than coming together, the league seems content to let this internal strife fester.
Yeah, you found nothing. That's great. That's accurate. Guess who told you you would find nothing? The entire Indiana Fever fan base said you weren't going to find anything.
Her impact raises pay, draws significant sponsorships, secures better facilities, and places the WNBA solidly on the international scene, elevating the league as a whole. He claimed that the players must mature and see Clark for what she really is, a transformational force that has the power to uplift everyone. Unfortunately, rather than coming together, the league seems content to let this internal strife fester.
The WNBA is committed to fostering a safe and inclusive environment for everyone and will continue to be vigilant in enforcing our fan code of conduct. Where is the apology to your fans?
In the past, the WNBA has struggled to gain widespread recognition and steady financial success. Their chance to finally make an impact and solidify their position in the crowded sports scene was made possible by Caitlin Clark's entrance. However, the league's contentious handling of the unfounded accusations, along with the apparent internal conflict and what Barkley referred to as self-sabotage, posed a threat to this extraordinary momentum. Barkley made a clear and pressing call for unification. There are already enough issues in this league without players betraying one another. Emphasized that it was a disastrous strategic mistake to concentrate on unfavorable, unverified accusations and internal conflicts rather than the exciting action on the court.
But this league that has never turned a profit decided to accuse their own fans of racism. Indiana Fever, as an organization, you're culpable here too. I mean, you are.
She and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%. Of course, her jersey was #1.
He fervently contended that rather than letting small complaints overshadow what might be the WNBA's best moment, The league should embrace the collective progress Clark provides. But bitterness isn't the only aspect of this emotional struggle. He alludes to a more profound, unsaid conflict.
I have a suspicion that outside of Indiana Fever game, there may be a boycott of every other game in your league. Of course, judging by the ratings, sometimes it looks like there already is a natural one.
Some of the worst criticism directed at Clark has been motivated by a more complicated and uncomfortable reality that lies beyond the surface of petty jealousy. Unquestionably, there is a subtle undercurrent that contributes to the story, the apparent rapid ascent of a white star, overshadowing seasoned black players who have long supported the league and laid its groundwork. Although Barkley doesn't say so directly, this unsaid tension produces a difficult dynamic. T provokes discussions about who receives attention, who gains from it, and whether the emphasis is genuinely on individual or community development.
I don't know what it is with the old fandom. I don't know what it is about fans of other teams. But, man, they didn't want regular sports fans to enter their arena. We're here. We're here. And we don't take things like this lying down. We don't stay quiet.
However, Barkley's viewpoint always returns to the figures and the indisputable influence, believes that although these social factors do exist, they shouldn't take precedence over the benefits that Clark's prominence offers to all of the league's players. The media's constant attention and a sharply divided fan base exacerbate this complex relationship.
I mean, they can't handle criticism. Again, a statement was made about hostile environment. Visiting arenas are hostile environments, and they have always known to be so.
Every rumor became a headline as soon as Caitlin Clark took the WNBA court. Particularly, social media sites served as echo chambers, magnifying every bit of drama and perceived offense. As a result, there was a clear conflict between the league's devoted, long-standing supporters and the enormous number of new fans who Clark unquestionably attracted. Widespread dissatisfaction resulted from the public outrage over the league's handling of the unfounded allegations and the ongoing player tensions.
Don't forget, this BS investigation led to thousands of people spewing hate speech towards Indiana Fever players.
Enraged fans who thought the fabricated controversy was overshadowing their love for the game even discussed boycotts. The very media outlets that ought to have been encouraging the sport's expansion instead made stories about alleged slights. All of this contributes to the biggest stakes the WNBA has ever encountered.
I mean, let's keep it real. As my shirts all came in and my cap and all that, me bought a league pass. We're funding this whole thing now. We're funding it.
The consequences of the WNBA's ongoing internal strife are astounding. The league runs the risk of upsetting the brand new fans Clark attracted, endangering important sponsorship agreements that are now at last available, and restricting the possibility of significant pay increases for every player. Bad press is not the only issue here. It's about wasting a once-in-a-lifetime chance to genuinely enter the mainstream. The message from Barkley is a dire caution. The league, its players, and its administration run the risk of losing this boom if they are unable to come together and embrace it.
You know, a lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
The opportunity cost of making a mistake now and letting animosity and stage drama take precedence over outstanding athletic ability is incalculable. The WNBA's ability to rise above the clutter and take advantage of this fantastic opportunity will determine its financial stability, cultural reputation, and destiny. A crucial decision the league makes now will determine the real legacy of this revolutionary period.
This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever. We're 1-8. They have a winning record now.
But the number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros, and for these women to have this petty jealousness, you say to yourself, damn, what is going on here?
Caitlin Clark is more than just a standout athlete. She is a generational phenomenon who offers the WNBA a once-in-a-lifetime chance to completely change. Charles Barkley has made it very evident that her influence goes well beyond individual performances, as evidenced by the league's unprecedented level of attention, surging ticket sales, and growing viewership. This amazing moment of ascent has been overshadowed by the problems surrounding her, from the baseless fan charges and the league's startling lack of an apology to the tangible internal player angst and the larger cultural undercurrents.
Before the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership. from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. What that means is if the WNBA were continue to grow at the rate it grew from 22 to 23, it would take until 2028 to do what Caitlin Clark did this year.
Can the WNBA overcome the drama and take advantage of this unheard of surge of enthusiasm? Or will they waste their best chance to become a genuinely worldwide, lucrative, and renowned sports powerhouse due to internal conflict, the harsh sting of jealousy, and the mismanagement of fan loyalty? Women's basketball's future and its position in the larger professional sports landscape are currently under jeopardy.